Tonight on Q2, wiped clean.
Our voice was just now getting out there.
Anger on the rise on the Crow Reservation as important figures in history are being deleted from government websites. Plus, the fight for equal rights.
This is not badgering. I don't want it to come across as something negative. It's just really awareness for businesses.
One group advocating for those with disabilities holds a walkout at a Billings restaurant to raise awareness about ADA compliance and challenges in fighting crime.
If I was to have, the magic ball and be able to tell you, I wish we had this number of officers, I would, of course, ask for more.
A nationwide law enforcement shortage now affecting the Billings Police Department. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. The Trump administration is executing a sweeping rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion content across military and government platforms. It means that tens of thousands of pages of stories on Native American heroes, including Chief Joseph Medicine Crow, are gone. As our Haley Monaco explains, that has many on the Crow Reservation angry because history is a key part of life there.
Important Native American figures in U.S. military history have been erased from government websites. People here on the Crow Reservation say it's disheartening.
We've endured so much already.
Donetta Jane Halfhold's work revolves around preserving the history of the Crow tribe.
Even I'm still learning every day.
With so much time put into the work here at the Little Bighorn College archives, it's frustrating to Halfholds to see other history taken away.
And I don't know why they did that, because there's hardly any to begin with.
Here is an example. If you search the U.S. Army website for Native American articles, you'll notice there aren't many left.
I think it's a mistake. It's part of history, and Native Americans have contributed a lot to American history.
Articles about Chief Joseph Medicine Crow erased.
Joe was a kind of a model, and he was highly accomplished in both the native and the white worlds. I was pretty disgusted by it, them taking that down. And here the page tells of his accomplishments, especially military accomplishments.
The Little Bighorn College library director dedicates his life to Indian education.
Are you just wiping the original owners, inhabitants of this country off the face of the map?
I think it's kind of whitewashing, literally, those things in history that are important and people should know about them.
When storytelling is such an integral part of Native culture,
Oral history is how we learned. It wasn't from a book.
And then these are gauntlets.
taking the history away hurts. But Halfholds isn't giving up hope.
They tried to kill all of us, and yet we're still here. So, yeah, we're here to stay. We're not going anywhere.
In Crow Agency, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
The purging of online content that promoted women or minorities on government websites under the Trump administration has drawn a lot of questions and some anger. Some pages that had been deleted have now been restored after public outcry. That includes histories of the Navajo code talkers and a Defense Department webpage on Jackie Robinson, who broke the color barrier in baseball after serving our country in World War II. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said in a video last week that mistaken removals will be quickly rectified, saying that history is not DEI. Well, tonight, President Trump is standing behind National Security Advisor Mike Waltz after sensitive details of a U.S. bombing attack on Houthi rebels was discussed on the messaging app Signal. That text chain inadvertently included Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine. Goldberg said military operations and their timing were discussed and said Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared sensitive operational details, including information about targets, weapons, and attack sequencing. Reaction to the leak is mostly split along party lines, with Democrats criticizing and Republicans downplaying the significance. Democrats demanded answers this afternoon at an already planned hearing with Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, both of whom were on that text chain.
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because
Council.
it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
The president says no classified material was included in the text, but the Republican chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee says they are considering whether hearings are needed to look into the matter. Finding a table at a restaurant or bar isn't always easy, but for those with disabilities, it can sometimes be almost impossible. That's something that Mitch Bone has been trying to call attention to. You've seen him in several stories we've done in the past here on Q2. Mitch uses a wheelchair, heads up a group called Access Billings. They've been working to make sure that all restaurants and bars are ADA compliant as required. Tonight they held a walkout at Old Chicago in Billings, a place Bone says he's been asking to make changes for over a year.
A protest per se, so we're going to walk in, we're going to say, hey, I'd love to sit in your bar. When they don't let me sit in the bar because they don't have lower seating, we will say, great, thank you, we don't want to spend money here, and we'll leave. This is not badgering. I don't want it to come across as something negative. It's just really awareness for businesses.
5% of tables in restaurants and bars must be ADA accessible in order to be compliant, but there's no one locally to keep them in check. Bone's hope is that more of these businesses will take it upon themselves to be compliant.
A typical spring day today with everything from temperatures into the 40s and 50s across the Midwest areas up into the Northeast. But check out today, 99 degrees, set a new record down in Phoenix. And we saw a lot of upper 80s here, anywhere from Fresno, Las Vegas. By the time we start looking into tomorrow, we're going to start to see a shift into stormy weather. Thunderstorm potential starts to go up into the Pacific Northwest, and at least some chance of general thunderstorms in western Montana. Here we are by Thursday, and a chance of a rumble of thunder, but also the possibility of near record high temperatures to go along with it. We'll break down the 7-day forecast for you in just a little bit. Still some rain and snow.
Riverstone Health is sounding the alarm after Yellowstone County has seen 6 overdoses over the last 3 days alone. The patient in one of those cases has died. The spike was identified through an overdose identification system and will not confirm the substance used is suspected to be opioids. Riverstone Health is working together with the Billings Police Department and the Department of Health and Human Services to monitor the overdoses in the county and analyze trends. Naloxone, or Narcan, which was delivered in 5 of the recent cases, is a drug that can reverse an overdose. Riverstone says that can be purchased over the counter at most pharmacies and can be administered by anyone. The health center also wants residents to know that Montana's Good Samaritan laws protect individuals from providing medical assistance at the scene of an emergency, including drug overdoses. Taking a bite out of crime is becoming more challenging for the Billings Police Department. It's all due to a staffing shortage, with police saying the force is down some 19 officers. As our Charlie Kleps explains, it's all part of a nationwide trend that, while taking a toll, is one the Billings Department is seemingly combating successfully.
Billings Police's annual crime report hasn't been released and won't be for a couple more weeks, but the department expects violent crime to be down. Good news at a time when their department and many other agencies across the country are facing staffing shortages.
Just like any other job, there's good days and bad days.
It's certainly not an easy job. Chasing and fighting crime, a calling few answer.
I wanted to help, serve and protect my community.
But it's the exact right lifestyle for 22-year-old police officer Owen Longabaugh, who actually got his start 2 years ago at age 20.
I think this is kind of like a jack of all trades kind of position.
Longabaugh says the job keeps him on his toes, but admits sometimes it can be overwhelming.
It kind of feels sink or swim at some times, there's a bad day, it's a really bad day.
Long days, certainly not helped by a shortage of police officers in Billings.
We are down a few. However, we swear in 4 new ones here in just a couple weeks.
Lieutenant Samantha Puckett says the department is currently 19 officers short of a full staff, an impact felt as the city continues to grow.
Sometimes we may have to call somebody in to help cover but they're usually willing to, still cover the street and doing all that extra duty.
Even still, Puckett says there's been big progress made by the department.
From the last I heard, we're still trending down in violent crime. We did get a pretty good handle on the gang problem.
Puckett added that it's accomplished with help from the city. City Council approved 8 more patrol jobs, which they are actively trying to fill.
From when we start hiring them to when they're done with all of their training, it's almost a year.
Community support that's rare across the country, with many departments struggling. Washington, D.C. is at an all-time 50-year low. Baltimore is down 600 officers. And in New York, the headcount is continuing to decline, now 11% down since 2019.
But part of the problem, I think, is just not a lot of people my age seem to want to join. The new hires that we actually get are transfers.
A situation Longabaugh hopes changes, knowing how fulfilling his nearly 2 years on the force have been.
It definitely, benefits me. It benefits the community.
In Billings, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
The United States is also facing a doctor shortage. In fact, the National Center for Health Workforce Analysis says in the next few years, the country could be short 187,000 physicians. Doctors believe there are a couple of reasons behind the issue. One is that 20% of physicians nationwide are 65 or older and expected to retire soon, with the second being that it's hard to get medical residents to Montana in the first place. There's also the problem of work-life balance, with 47% of physicians feeling burned out. Dr. John Moore with Rocky Vista University says medical schools can only do so much to get their students into local residencies, but says they do want to motivate Montanans to come home afterwards.
I do know that students that are from a particular area that go to training, especially if they can train within that area, have a much higher rate of staying in that area.
Dr. Moore does warn that tackling the shortage is going to take some time. And concerns continue tonight for Billings Clinic patients as the hospital is yet to reach an agreement with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Montana. However, there is some good news as the two have agreed to a 15-day extension, and both sides say they hope to reach a new agreement without disruption to patients. If a deal cannot be reached by April 15th, it would affect around 40,000 households across Montana. The current deal was set to expire March 31st. Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2, a heated debate. Republicans look to get an abortion-focused constitutional amendment on the ballot in Montana. But will it pass? Those details next. Then later, city custodians are being laid off as officials look to save money, but some argue it's not going to help the budget at all. We'll take you inside the debate. The Montana House has advanced a proposed constitutional amendment to establish that personhood starts at conception. Republican Representative Lee Deming of Laurel sponsored House Bill 316 and believes that abortion is a violation of individual dignity. His measure states that the word person applies to all stages of development starting at conception. However, opponents warn the impacts of this change could go well beyond abortion and say it undermines the voters' choice just 2 years ago to add abortion rights to the state constitution.
In this case, you are stepping in and trying to overweigh what the voters have done and have told you. Just stop.
Deming, meanwhile, says this proposal isn't undoing the voters' choice. It's simply giving them a second chance to weigh in on the issue.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure that the people who voted on CI 128 really understood what they're voting for. And I think there may be some buyer's remorse.
There's still a difficult road to get this to the ballot, as it requires 2/3 of the entire legislature to go before voters, meaning several Democrats would be needed to push it over the 100-vote threshold.